I am so excited to continue this day. What a day it has been already. And we are here with a woman who has started an amazing organization called Empower Our Crown. Pilar Tucker, soon to be Dr. Pilar Tucker. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do, and talk a little bit about Mental Health Awareness Month?
Thank you, Pastor Mona, for having me. I am so blessed to even be here today. But Empower Our Crown is an organization that I birthed really through a place of pain. It's an organization that empowers women and girls to become mentally and emotionally competent world changers. And what I mean by that is that we have to really dig deep into who we are in order to heal and in order to advance our communities and advance our lives, advance ourselves, and live in our purpose. So when I launched Empower Our Crown, I was in the midst of coming out of a dark space. Although I'm a therapist and I had the tools and I had my faith, I felt like Empower Our Crown was something that I needed to take that leap of faith a step forward, and really step into my purpose. So creating that space for other women and girls who look like me to do that is what Empower Our Crown is, and what I am and who I am and what God's called me to be. So
And what year did you launch Empower Our Crown?
yeah, so just last year, so June 2019, I launched Empower Our Crown. I had the idea, I think, in December of 2018, and I had to pray about it a lot, actually, and I asked God, like, am I ready for this? Am I ready to launch a business? I've never done this before. I have always gone to school and done the things that I'm supposed to do, but I don't think I've always done the things that I've been called to do. So I was sitting on it for a while, meditating on it, praying about it, and then I launched in June of last year. So it's coming up on a year next month.
Wow, I have to say that from the first time that I really got notice of Empower Our Crown, I've always been completely impressed by the work that you do and how you share your truth with others. You don't hide that you are in a dark place, but you have said with starting this business that that's part of my truth, and I'm going to use my truth to empower others. You've done so much work in such a short time. So you launched, and after you launched, just, tell us what happened, because it feels like you've been around for years.
So when I launched, and I like to say I birthed because it's a baby, Empower Our Crown's my baby and growing rapidly. But I had the vision, and I really just, it's so interesting actually, because it just happens. It just manifested in the way that, I kind of asked God for it to manifest. So I said, God, use me as an empty vessel so I'm able to utilize my voice and my power and my truth to impact. And literally every day I have a new idea. And sometimes my ideas scare me, but the more I'm getting comfortable in my truth, I'm able to just, launch it, you birth it, through mental health and wellness to leadership. Like that's a very key part of Empower Our Crown, because it's not just about empowering you to become a mentally competent person, but really become a leader and bridging that gap. I think there are so many times where we are so focused on one or the other that we forget that we can manifest both equally and radically. So that's kind of what I just do on a daily basis, actually. And I have a team now, so it's easy to kind of share my ideas, and we just all brainstorm together and make it happen.
Well, I also love the way that once the pandemic really hit and we all found ourselves in quarantine, you immediately began to post aggressively on your Instagram ways that we could cope in crisis. And can you share some of those things that you, some of the tips that you gave on your Instagram?
Sure. So some of them are the self-care strategies. So I believe that self-care is our best care. And I came up with a 7-step self-care process that I really encourage people to activate and incorporate in their daily lives. And some of those are making sure pleasure. You have to have pleasure, whether that's shopping or, walking in the park with your man, your girl, whomever it is, you want to have fun. Another one is sensory. So that's all about being in tune with your senses, really being mindful and aware and woke on what's going on. What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you touching? What are you tasting? Sometimes we aren't mindful of those things, and the day will pass us by. But when we're intentional in identifying our senses and what we're doing in that moment, then we can really bring a heightened awareness. And another one is mental stimulation. So we have to be people who are advancing our minds. Our mind, body, and spirit has to be in alignment. And I think a lot of that is through knowledge. Knowledge is power. So whether that's reading or doing a crossword puzzle, I know I'm in school right now, so that's lots of doing research and stuff like that. But whatever is activating those brain cells to strengthen and exercise your brain muscles. And then I'd love to say spirituality. So I know that looks so differently for everyone, but for me, that's prayer. Prayer is a form of meditation. So you're really taking time to have a conversation with God. And I know sometimes people are like, well, I don't even know what to say, but it's really just a conversation and being intentional and setting that standard to do so. And then what else? Social connection. So people now are like, we have to social distance, but social distancing doesn't mean emotional distancing. So we still have to be people who are intentional and connecting with those that we love, connecting with our communities, connecting with people who can inspire and uplift us. And we also have to be those people. So those are some of the steps that I encourage people to utilize, because I think sometimes when you hear self-care, you're like, oh, let me go get my nails done. Oh, let me go get my hair done and my makeup. And yes, you can do that, but know that there are various other mechanisms that you can implement to, have a good self-care regimen.
Okay. Thank you for that. I know you said something about social distancing, and I know that a lot of people have really felt it, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But social distancing doesn't have to mean emotional distancing. And I love that we can still call, we can still send cards, we can still, write each other. There are so many things that we can do. I know one of the things that your organization has done, you did these Sunday,
Self-care Sunday.
Self-Care Sunday. And what a powerful movement to really take a day out of the week. And I was on one of your calls, and you set the intention right in the beginning. You said, let's put our phones away. Let's not be distracted. Let's really center in. And this hour is the time that we have with each other. So, you also do things in the community that I think are amazing. And again, I want women to hear that you just birthed this a year ago. It was in your it was in the womb for about 6 months prior to launching.
Right.
And now you are walking in this really rapid growth. And as you said, your child is growing very quickly. And so what courage did you need to really, bring this baby to life? Because that's one of the things that, we think about something, but then a lot of us get like stuck in that mental space that it's hard to break out of. So as a therapist, how did you do it? And then how do other women break out of that space that kind of has us held back?
it's a very tough space to break out of. You know, I tried to break out of it for years, you know, and it was such a battle. I was at war with myself. My thoughts, my mind, and my body were not on the same page. So it took a lot of me being understanding of my pain. You know, identifying like, yes, this pain is here, but it cannot stay. And I think once I was able to accept it, because I ran from my pain, you know, I ran from my depression, I ran from my anxiety, I ran from my truth. And because I ran from my truth, I was living a lie. You know, so I had to sit down. I just remember one day just breaking down, you know, and I was in school and people didn't typically see me break down. I would come to school dressed to impress, you know, raising my hand, so engaged. But one day I just broke down and it was just like a world of pain just dropping on me. And I couldn't hold back my tears. And I just had to let it out. And I was talking to a supervisor, and she's like, this is not you. What's going on? You hid it so well. And I think that's what I did my whole life, is just hide my pain so well so I could show up to the world with a smile and then go home and cry. So I had to sit with that. And it was very uncomfortable because I'm someone who sometimes wants to be a perfectionist. You know, I want to do things well. I want to appear well. But it was like God telling me, well, you're not well. So until you understand that you're not well, then I'm going to have you sit here in your pain and be uncomfortable. So I had to listen. I had to listen, and I had to sit, and I had to be one with my truth. And once I was able to accept my truth, then I was able to identify how I can pivot from pain to power. And that's when I was just, you know, writing. I would write so much, you know, here are my thoughts, here are my feelings, here's what I'm preaching to, you know, my clients to do this. I need to do this for me. And as soon as I was able to do that for me, then I was able to step into my purpose and love myself into my purpose and really be accepting of even the painful moments, because I still have painful moments, but I just know who and whose I am. So it's easier for me to pivot a little faster now.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you just said this point. I still have painful moments because sometimes, like you said, we've got to work through our pain, right? We've got to grow through the things that we've gone through, but we have to recognize that some pain you're still working through,
Right.
and it shouldn't, or you should not let it cripple you. And that really has been, you know, a recurring theme throughout the day, just not being stuck in one place.
Yeah.
So during this pandemic, this quarantine, what have you, aside from the seven, what do you call them again? The
Self-care tips.
seven self-care tips. What are some other things that you have been doing, and how have you been moving your organization forward during this time?
Yeah, so it also requires strategy. So, you know, meeting with my team a lot more, you know, weekly, and checking in to see what goals we want to hit. So in order to manifest visions and dreams, you have to be intentional in what you're writing down. So I oftentimes in our board meetings, I'm saying, okay, well, what are our goals? What are our bigger visions, long-term and short-term? And then how can we, you know, make this work? So I know that the community is in high need right now. So we've had to pivot in terms of the amount of events that we do. So we weren't doing weekly events before. Now we're doing weekly, monthly, and trying to hit all of our pillars. So we have financial literacy, we have health and wellness, we have mental health, we have community engagement and outreach, and we have education. So really trying to hit all pillars, but being intentional in that, and then engaging our community. So lots of virtual stuff. We had to turn our events virtually, and that was uncomfortable at first. Being on Zoom and trying to navigate an audience is a task, you know? And it's a task that a lot of people take for granted, you know, because it's a lot. I am someone who's in person. You know, I love to see your emotions, your body language, nonverbal cues on the computer. Sometimes you can't see that. So really practicing and being intentional and increasing the amount that we're working. But it doesn't really feel like work, but just really increasing and trying to strategize effectively.
So it sounds like this season has been a stretching, but a good stretch.
Yeah.
And are there are there things that you have found in this season that you will continue to do even when we're out of quarantine?
Yes. So the self-care, that is something that I want to continue to do. We also just launched a book club. So I'm so excited about that because that kind of falls underneath the educational realm of our 5 pillars. And I want to continue doing that because it allows people of all walks of life. I want to do it virtually and in person. It allows people who may not feel as comfortable to come and be vulnerable in person a space. It's like a safety net. So I want to continue to have a digital platform because our society's transforming it in digitally in any way, you know, so just staying on top of that and pivoting with the society, we're going to continue to have our digital platform.
Okay. And I know that you do a lot of work with young women. What are you doing with that population now?
Yeah. So with our young women, we are actually doing a mental health of color. So that is something that I launched actually a few months ago, actually in October, that I highlight powerful women in the mental health field. And what we do is kind of have a therapy for women. Men are invited, but it's really about the women, you know? So we don't say, no, you can't come, but just know who our focus is. And that space is really healing. It's a healing space. It's very intentional. I bring different psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, mental health advocates to come in and facilitate a space for women. And that's something I do. Recently, I joined one of my good friends, and we do something called the Mindful Hustle. So both of us are women entrepreneurs, and we speak to other women in the community who may not be entrepreneurs but are leaders. And how do you mindfully hustle, you know, which is foreign because mindful and hustle don't typically go together, but they should. So doing things like that. The book club, again, that's for women. So we have a few things going on that are really exciting, and we do welcome all women from all walks of life, and I'm just so excited about that.
Thank you so much. Again, as an older woman, I am so impressed by you. And when I started to, I've known you since you were a younger girl, but when I noticed Empower Our Crown, I'm telling you, in my spirit, I've always been like, this is a woman to watch. That there are platforms that you're going to take that are going to be incredible. And you're really just on loan to Boston right now, but the platform is an international platform. It's groundbreaking. And I've enjoyed your conversations in the car. And I can tell that these downloads are coming. And man, just powerful. I've seen some of the events that you've done, I believe with the Boston Foundation and other organizations. You are really blazing a trail, and you're blazing a trail in an industry that we don't often talk about. And so tell us a little bit about, Mental Health Awareness Month and what we should be on the lookout for and how this whole month came about.
Yeah, so Mental Health Awareness Month is huge. It's an integral month for people to not only raise awareness for mental health, but really destigmatize mental illness. And it's across the world. You know, it's something that's honored, especially in the United States. But it is a month to focus on our mental health, whether you are someone who struggles directly or indirectly. It's a month that we can develop coping skills to help us, heal. And mental health Awareness Month for me is every month. You know, I always say, you know, I love that we have a specific month, but it should be every day. Mental health awareness and mental illness are very significant topics that, especially in communities of color, we stray away from and we don't understand, and we you know, diminish the significance of it because of fear or because of ignorance or because of shame and guilt. And it's something for me this month that I want to go even harder with highlighting the importance of it, because it is something that we need to instill in our life practice. Mental health is like your physical health. As you go to the doctors and you're getting a physical, you should be going to a mental health counselor or just raising the awareness for yourself to understand that you have to take care of yourself mentally. We struggle, especially in communities of color, with severe depression, trauma, stress, and we have such high rates of these, but they go unreported many times because of the fear that's associated with that diagnosis. We're condemning ourselves because of these diagnoses and putting each other down instead of really healing collectively, saying, you know, I understand that you are traumatized.
Yes.
Look where you live.
Yes.
Look where your dad or your brother is. Look what happens to us as a nation. You know, what happens. I know your pain.
Yes.
You know, we have to get more comfortable saying that is the truth, you know, but we don't have to get stuck there. We can heal collectively. It's so much better when you're able to identify a painful truth and then heal together into your power, because you're not alone. So this month especially, and I speak with so much conviction because it's something that I live and breathe, and I want to change, you know, the narrative of mental health in our communities across the globe.
Well, thank you, Pilar Tucker, soon to be doctor. I think it's so great to say that, for speaking your truth, for really stepping out in faith and the hard work and the perseverance to start your organization. And it's so great to watch it grow. I think just a couple of months ago, you started introducing different board members online, and it was great to meet them and to see the growth of your company. And we thank you for being part of this day. This is a day that, you know, we decided that we wanted to offer women, you know, so many different topics that could cover from waking up until going to bed, and to give hope, you know, in a very uncertain season. I know many towns are opening up, and people are still a little nervous about, you know, COVID-19, but the work that you're doing and giving these tips, I believe, is going to be so helpful for the women that are tuned in. So thank you so much. I know that you are off to another engagement, and we appreciate your sacrifice of time, and we don't take it for granted. And again, thank you, Dr. Pilar Tucker. This is a woman to watch out for in the future all across the globe. So thank you.
Thank you.